Taking a nap on the couch. Hear knocking, ignore it. Decide to answer door after someone has been knocking on it for over a minute, says hello every 5 seconds sharp. Open door, see average guy with an average build, brown hair and eyes. His hair is very short, almost a buzz cut. Wearing a blue button-down short-sleeve shirt with one button out of line, so there was an awkward bunching of buttons in a gap. Normal black slacks. Hello miss, may I come in and talk to you about our magazine? I was going to politely say no, because I was alone and didn't want a stranger in my house. Something slithers under his skin. Like a small bulge, almost the size of a cherry, scurries from the collar of his shirt to beneath his eye, underneath his skin. His doesn't twitch, he just keeps this plastic smile on his face. Slam the door in his face, lock everything, all of the windows, every door, and sit in the closet with a shotgun until my roommate comes home. He wasn't holding any magazines or paper for that matter.
Reminds me of a story my family has. Mom's father, my grandfather, decides to kill himself. Runs a hose from his truck exhaust into the cabin through window opened a crack. Dies as planned. She identifies the body since grandma had left him years before and moved away. Mom was closer. His property is sold, somebody has to take his truck. It was given to my mom. Driving home, on the highway. Here's we need to talk. Looks over, dead grandfather in passenger seat. She pulls off to the side of the road, turns the truck off, then gets out and walks away with the key left in the ignition. Walks to nearest truck stop, calls for a ride. Never looked into the truck again. No idea what wound up happening to it. Most likely wound up auctioned by an impound company. Some random person probably drove it for years not knowing about the suicide.
Nighttime receptionist at a hostel. Talking at a piss-ass drunk Swiss guy about politics and chocolates. Hear repeated, really loud hooker screams of a woman. Don't know if agony or pleasure. Probably both. Man finishes with a roar. Yeah, it's pleasure. We laugh and part ways. Later see a guy leaving in a hurry. Strange, he didn't lit the lights, shrugs. After my shift I went to do my business. Return 3 hours later for my salary. Cops are all over the place. No one at the reception. Boss tells me that the daytime colleague found a dead hooker at one of the apartments naked, throat slit, blood everywhere.
Number 15, a retelling of events. November 12, 2009. Posted at 1634, 4chan. When I was about 13 years old, I was sleeping over my friend's house. We had just gone to bed, it was around midnight, and we heard a door open and close downstairs. He said, "Don't move. Don't say anything. Just be still and quiet." I stayed still and didn't say a word. Downstairs, we heard heavy footsteps and crashing. There was glass breaking, things smashing, it was quite loud. The footsteps were now coming up the stairs, still knocking things onto the floor as the person came upstairs. As it came down the hall towards the bedrooms, we heard my friend's mother shout, "Mr. Honeysuckle, leave us alone. Go away and leave us alone." In a very angry, aggressive tone. The footsteps and crashing immediately stopped. The next morning, we all went downstairs together, and everything was a mess. Things overturned, broken glass on the floor, nearly everything had been broken or messed up. The kitchen, however, had been untouched. They never spoke about it to me, and I never dared to ask. A few years later, the family was renovating the basement. They found the body of a Mr. Honeysuckle. Anonymous, location unknown. I got drunk on a Thursday night and slept by the river. I woke up and walked to a house that was for sale. It was mostly emptied out, but it was huge. Keep in mind that it was the dead of night, and the house is in the middle of the woods. I walked down a spiral staircase, and saw someone right in front of me. I said hi, but then I realized it was a large mirror. Not kidding you at all, I said hi to a mirror image of myself. Anyway, there was a top floor that didn't have a visible staircase to access it, but there was an elevator. It didn't have power, so I climbed the cables and got up there. I actually fell asleep up there, but when I woke up, I heard a faint alarm sound. I walked around a bit and found a staircase that led to a hidden doorway, but I couldn't open it. I went back to the elevator shaft, climbed down, and found a doorway that I couldn't get through, and it was one of those bookcase doorways. Cool as fuck. I found my backpack at the bottom of the elevator shaft, but I realized I didn't have my phone. I went searching around the house, and I discovered that the garage was the source of the alarm. I couldn't shut it off, so I had to get out. I went back to where I left my bike by the river, but it wasn't there. I turned to go back to the house, but there was a man in the way. Looking back, I believe this man was watching me all night. He didn't say anything, but his gnarled hands, vet clothes, and shaggy hair made every muscle in my body tense up. I'm a fast runner, and I ran like the wind along the train tracks, fortunately not tripping on the beams or rocks. Some of my friends say that would have fought the guy. He was going to murder me, I know it, and he probably would have won.
This isn't paranormal, but it was creepy as fuck. I worked as an in-home caregiver for a 95-year-old woman who lived alone. I worked 24 to 48 HRS at a time and then would switch off, so I spent a couple of nights a week at least at her house, just the two of us. I had to sleep on a futon in her room, so if she woke up and needed something I would hear her and be able to help. One night she had already gone to bed and was sleeping soundly. It was about midnight and I wanted a snack, so I went to the kitchen. Suddenly I hear her voice calling Millie. Millie. Millie was this woman's long-dead sister. I'd heard her talked about once before. I went back to the bedroom and she was laying in the bed, and when she saw me she snapped her head over to me. Her eyes were huge, and she looked me dead in the eye and said Millie as though she were acknowledging me being Millie. I said no very slowly, and the glimmer sort of left her eye and she said oh. No, and kind of half smiled apologetically. I was thinking okay, no big deal. Then she said but she's here, isn't she? And again I said no. She isn't here, hoping she would remember on her own again. She said well, will you go look around the house just to make sure? MFW, this 95-year-old woman is asking me to walk around her house in the middle of the night to look for her dead sister. Hell nope.
At the circus, we once hired a clown who performed under the name Malingo. I think we all knew, right from the start, that there were something wrong with Malingo, and if you're considered odd amongst our ragged crew, there is something seriously wrong. He stank, not only from the booze, which seemed to be his only intake of nutrient whatsoever, but of something sicky sweet, like a carcass left in the summer sun. And he moved rather clumsy, and not clown funny clumsy, but rigid. Both on and off the stage. From day one he kept to himself, and no one really cared to befriend him anyway. One night, he seemed more off than usual. He was mimicking the acrobats in one of his numbers. The idea was that he would use the trampoline and do a couple of flicks in the air, and then crash land. During the practice sessions he had always gotten up right after the crash, since that was part of the act. But this night, in front of the audience, he didn't get up. I was the first one to reach him, since I'm always there during the clown's act. If the stench didn't tell me something were wrong, the huge gaping hole in his stomach did. It was like he had just burst open. Thankfully, I managed to get the clowns to play ambulance and carry him out before the audience realized it wasn't part of the show. I also managed to hide his wound with the help of a tablecloth we had on stage. We have a doctor in our troupe, and after examining Malingo, he said that the clown had been dead for weeks. That last trick had been too much for his decomposing body, and he had simply burst. None of us understand how this can be, but he hid his condition, if one can call it that, under a mist of booze, and thick layers of makeup.
This reawoke the memory of a spooky childhood clown happening of mine. Unlike a lot of kids, I really liked clowns, even scary ones. Because of this, when I was about 9, my mom and dad hired a clown for my birthday party. When the party came, the clown came. His name was something like Polka-Pete or something else. My memory is foggy because I was 9 at the time. I noticed immediately he was really tall. Again, I was a kid at the time, but even according to my dad, he was giant. My dad's 6 feet 4 inches for reference, and works in construction. And Polka-Pete was a whole head taller than him. Pete moved so weirdly, again even my parents remember it. It was like his arms and legs had additional knees and elbows, and his face was so uncanny. Even to a kid like me who loved clowns, he was uncanny. I didn't want to be around Pete, and my parents didn't want him around. My dad told him to his face to leave, and offered to pay him bonus upfront if he just left. Pete froze up at this, breathing heavily in my dad's face. My dad said it took him all the willpower in his body not to throw up in that moment because Pete's breath was rancid. And then a few moments later, a car covered in polka dots pulled up to the house. And an actual clown stepped out. Polka-Pete suddenly stood up straight, getting this 1,000-yard stare in his eyes before sprinting off really unnaturally. The actual clown was confused as fuck about why there was someone else there, and we all realized rather quickly that Polka-Pete never showed up in a car. It seemed like he just materialized at the front door. Pic related, what Polka-Pete kinda looked like, although his suit had polka dots and his face was more like an uncanny robot. Number 9, report for processing. Number 9 rolled over on his cot in his cell. He had just awoken from a siesta after mealtime to the news. Processing, nobody knew what happened to those who had been processed, but he didn't have a choice. It was his turn. 2 orderlies were outside his pen, holding chains. All the other inmates lined against the far wall while they shackled him. In chains, he was escorted down the hall. They led him into the showers. One of the orderlies shaved his head and they stripped him naked. The other grabbed a high-pressure hose and sprayed him down. The second grabbed a brush and started to scrub. Number 9 recoiled in pain at the heat of the water and the scraping of the brush, but was powerless to do anything as he was chained. When they were done, they gave him a clean robe and escorted him further into the facility. The next room had a medical examination facility. An older doctor surveyed him from behind his spectacles. Number 9. Yes? Any medical conditions or sickness? No. No psychological abnormalities? No. The doctor grabbed a syringe and put it up to number 9's neck. He inserted the needle and pushed the plunger. Euphoria ran through number 9's veins. The orderlies escorted him further in, now high as a kite, to a door that ominously read processing. Inside, a cold gray room full of human-sized cylinders. The orderlies opened one up and placed number 9 inside. Nothing happened at first, but soon it started to get cramped in the tube. To his horror, number 9 realized he was being crushed. The gears easily crushed his fragile body into a paste that leaked out the bottom of the cylinder, being harvested in several catches. Meanwhile, in the pens, it was almost feeding time.
Kind of a less scary nope. Live with a QTGF. She has an old cat. Loves this cat. Had it since she was a little girl. Cat isn't in the best health. We take care of it best we can. I come home from work. Cat is laying in a sunspot. Go feed her. She doesn't come to the food bowl. Go over and nudge her with my foot. Stiff and dead. Shit. Put her in a box and set her in the garage. GF comes home. Tell her what happened. Tears. We have to bury her. Get a shovel. Find a place in the backyard. Dig a pretty deep hole. Put dead cat in it. Cover her up. GF sobbing the whole time. GF has be get a big rock for her. Spends the evening in the garage making her a tombstone. Finally comes in and sits on the couch with me. She's nearly fallen asleep. There is a bump on the couch. She jumps. What? Nothing, let's go to bed. We go to bed. We're just getting laid down. Feel a bump on the bed and something on my legs. Sounds fucking nuts, but it felt like her cat getting on the bed. This happens from time to time. Few weeks later, we wake up to disembodied purring. You can actually feel it on the bed. GF has it recorded on her phone. I bought her a new cat last month for her birthday. Heard her upstairs introducing her new cat to the ghost of her old cat. If she was here, I'd try to upload the recording of the purring somewhere. It is seriously pretty cool. It doesn't really scare me or anything. She 100% believes it's her cat. She even notes when the new kitten is running around being weird with itself that it's like she is playing with the old cat.
Around 10 or 11 years old, living in an old house. Sleeping, having bitchin' kid dreams. Suddenly get feeling of hands grabbing my ankles. Ice cold hands, like metal outside in winter on Pluto. Wake up, yank my feet to myself shouting row. Go to attack the fiend. Leap from my bed, eyes have been closed this whole time. Break my older brother's nose. MFW, he was pranking me. LOL reminds me of a story my dad told me. Was 14 or so, had older sister, 16 or so. They used to get in fights and shit all the time but still had the whole brother-sister vibe. One night, watching horror movies over at friend's house. He leaves early. Hides in a bush, sister walking home alone. He scares her. She breaks his nose. Another. Same age. Dad would blare The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Put knife between teeth, music blaring with only them home. Crawl after her around the house like the bitch from The Ring. Last one. Hides under her bed one night. She goes to get into bed. He grabs her ankles. She pees herself. LOL, now he's an emotionally abusive alcoholic. I had a weird experience when I was 6 or 7. Get bus with mother and brother often because no car. Brother is 6 years older and we couldn't be more different. He's very roguish and uncontrollable while I'm the opposite. That being said, he's still my older brother and therefore a role model and someone I emulate, or try to. Has this habit of sitting inside of the luggage rack, particularly if there aren't any seats. Pick is the closest I can find, it's that opening under the stairs. Obviously not allowed in there because it's for luggage. Gets told off every time he does it, but he doesn't care. Get on the bus this one morning with my mother and without brother. Awful day, cold, raining, dull as fuck, typical British weather. No seats, bus is packed, and have to stand. Only being young and therefore short, everyone's damp coats are pressing against my cute little face. Feels horrible. Fuck this, I'm going to chat it up in the luggage rack. Climb in luggage rack. This is a mistake. Severely claustrophobic and already lots of wet bags in there. If anything, this is more uncomfortable. People start throwing more bags in and now I feel like I can't get out. Stuck in the corner behind the driver's seat. Get this sensation like I'm falling and there's a light behind me. Grab onto what I can to stop falling. Looking over my shoulder. Hard to describe this part. It's like I'm looking down on a nice sunny bustling town, but no one there can see me. Realize I'm not falling, it's more like I'm being sucked into a hole and into this sunny inviting town. Next thing I know, someone has hold of my arm and pulls me from the luggage rack. It's the bus driver. Bus has stopped. My mother is crying because she couldn't find me. Everyone is staring at me like when Kevin McAllister fucks up the kitchen in Home Alone. Get told off by both the bus driver and my mother. Were looking for me for a good 15 minutes. Couldn't have been in the luggage rack for more than a minute or two.
Be me, 15 years old. Best friend lives in same suburb as me. Quickest way to his house is through this giant channel/drain. Normally avoid it at night because there's zero light down there and it's creepy as fuck. Hanging at best mate's house one night. Decide to leave at about 1:30 a.m. cause I have to help my dad with some renovation work the next day. Really don't want to take the long way. Fuck it, I'll take the drain. Use phone light for guidance. The only sound is my footsteps, and I can only see the small cone of light produced by my phone. About halfway through the drain. Can make out some muffled sounds coming from the darkness. As keep walking through, the sound becomes clearer. Initially it sorta sounds like a child sobbing. Get closer and realize it is clearly an adult putting on a child's voice. Chills up the spine, heartbeat racing. By now I can tell that the sound is directly to my right. Aim phone light up for a second. Only saw him for a second but the image is still burned into my brain. Grown man squatting by a bush at the top of the embankment. Fat with long hair. Wearing a mini skirt, bra, and frilled pink socks, nothing else. Face is smeared with makeup. He's sobbing profusely. In the second I put the light on him we make eye contact. As I pull the light away and turn to bail, I see him get up and start running down towards the path. The sobbing ceases immediately. Sprint the fastest I've ever ran my entire life. Get to the end of the drain. Don't see anything in the darkness. Run home. I've never walked through the drain again at night. Pic related is the end of the drain.
Parents die in a car wreck. A week or so later, I'm laying in bed, crying myself to sleep as usual. Hear a creak on the floor outside my room, and giggling. My dog perks up and starts growling like crazy. My mom slowly leans around the corner of the door. She looks different, and her movements are all wrong. Jerky and twitchy. Go to sleep, Anon, it'll all be better soon. It's her voice but sounds clotted somehow. My blood is ice water. My dog is whimpering and cowering now. Mom jerks back around the door. Another creak. My dad leans around the corner. It's okay, son, we're gonna be a family again soon. Just fall asleep and giggles. Like my mom, his movements are all spastic and fucked up. His face is a grinning rictus. He jerks his head back out of sight. My heart is pounding. Quickly and quietly as I can, I grab my phone and dial 911 to report a home invasion at my address. I can hear movement and that insane giggling from the hallway. I'm laying there with tears rolling down my face from fear. I don't know how long it was until I saw flashing lights outside the house and muffled shouts. Hurried movement in the hallway, something crashes to the ground. Muffled shouts from downstairs as the cops come through the front door. Thank you God. They search my house and afterward a cop approaches me white as a sheet. Anon, it's hard to tell you this but we found your parents' faces on the ground outside. That was almost 10 years ago. They never found the sick fucks that did it and I still have nightmares. Used to live in this absolutely terrifying house. It got to the point where fucked up things were happening daily. One time I heard what sounded like someone humming a song and ended up sourcing it to what sounded like within the wall. Got out camera and took a picture, flash on, of this crack in my door frame to see if I could see anything within the wall. See this?
Be me. 10 minutes ago. Driving home from work. Cruising down a 2-lane highway. See a car coming my way. All of a sudden, the fucking asshole swerves into my lane. No time to react. Head-on collision. Lose consciousness immediately. Wake up in a white room. See a man who looks exactly like me seated at a black table. There is a computer in front of him. He tells me I was in a horrible car accident. Ask him if I'm dead. He tells me that in about 5 minutes, I will be. Ask him if there's an afterlife. He says no. Tells me that my life is an infinite loop. And once I die, I will be reborn. As myself. Living the same life, over and over, without end. He gives me his computer and tells me to type out my last words. Go to /b/ and frantically write this post. I only have a few minutes left. My life is about to end. My life is about to begin. I'm 20 years old. 20 years from now, I will be posting this again. I have no idea how many times this has happened before.
Bedtime. Shit, shower, shave. Lying in bed. Loud explosion. Intense visual static. Suddenly strapped to a chair. Man in lab coat yelling, put him back under. Sharp pain in arm. Suddenly back in shower.
Be me working as security at an apartment complex called Delaire Landing. Like 19 at the time. Super comfy job but the pay sucks ass. Work night shifts so not a lot of traffic. I'd spend most of my nights watching TV or browsing 4chan. One night I see a tall silhouette running around the apartment complex. I thought it might have been a jogger at first but the figure was moving way too erratically. It looked more like an oversized kid playing. I ignored it, wasn't allowed to leave my post. Besides I didn't want/need that job anyway. I was temporarily laid off from my union job as an electrician. The security gig was just a little extra pocket money. The thing gets closer to my station. Stops and stares at me. It was like 3 in the morning and my box was the only thing lit up. I casually wave at it. It retreats farther into the apartment complex. 2 days later I'm called into a meeting. Apparently there was a crazy Gulf War vet running around completely naked with shit smeared all over his chest. I didn't get fired because the owner of the security company was an incompetent fuck who didn't know who was working that night.
Get job as security guard while I am going to college. Expecting job guarding building or some other thing. Boss looks at me and I can tell he took an instant dislike to me and said, I have the perfect job for you. First job is patrolling graveyard at night as apparently a lot of scum had been using this place for drug deals, drug use, prostitute sex, and other things. I was armed with a flashlight and bear mace. First night walking around doing my patrol I heard what sounded like a lot of people climbing the chain link fence to get over. Was going to call for backup when I decided I better get a closer look. Didn't want to panic on the first night of the job. Got closer and saw a John and prostitute having sex against the fence. That was the sound I heard. That sounded like a lot of people were climbing the fence. I snuck closer to them and thought I would play a prank. I said in a deep voice that looks like fun, I call get the whore next. They both started screaming at the top of their lungs and were falling down and ran in opposite directions and you could still hear them screaming in the distance as they ran off. I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe as I was thinking that was really funny. I heard what sounded like laughter as well behind me. I knew nobody was there but me, but instead of feeling afraid I felt like something was welcoming me. Almost like, you're alright kid. Saw and heard a lot of strange things there but was never afraid. I think the ghosts there liked me and decided not to scare me like all the other previous guards.
I have a few. If y'all like this one, I'll post more. Be 2 years ago. Dicking around with Polish friend. Head on to hidden wiki, Anon-chan, etc. On Anon-chan, some dude posts a link and some Cyrillic script with lots of exclamation points. Luckily enough, my buddy reads Russian. Translates it. It's up again, hurry. Fuck it, why not? Click the link. Here's what we saw. 3 dudes in military uniforms, shown only from the neck down. Speaking excitedly and super high-pitched/nervously in Russian. Friend reads Russian better than he speaks it, but he catches a few phrases. Basically, these guys are scared and excited, they're getting another one, etc. Eventually it becomes clear that they're out on the ice in some random-ass lake in Siberia, ice fishing. After a few minutes of nervous chatter, fucking assault rifles start going off. Camera swings around wildly, eventually focusing on a poorly lit hole in the ice. Gurgling and splashing noises coming from it. These dudes, and others, are just straight pumping bursts down the hole. Eventually, after another few minutes, these dudes use long hooked poles to dig around and then heave something up. Shit you not. 20+ foot long fish like snake looking fucker, at least 3.5 feet in diameter. I'd say it was an anaconda but it was brown and it had really nasty, flabby fins that they grabbed and stretched out, full of sea lice and holes and shit, big black eyes, mouth full of the gnarliest teeth I have ever seen. Huge air sacs on its underside, looked like a lungfish or some shit. Video cuts to a series of photos of the thing, better lit than the video, presumably because they're shot with flash. Mottled brown skin with plenty of blood smeared all over it, from the bullets scraping the sides of the hole they pulled it out of. One of the pictures showed what I'm guessing was the contents of its stomach, and there was all sorts of crazy shit in there. Don't go swimming in Russia.
So I thought /x/ would like this story because at this point I've mostly gotten over it. This takes place when I was a kid in the mid-90s with my parents overseas in Spain for a vacation. It was called Matilda Ride. We were between a major city and a smaller, yet still kinda big town in central Spain. The town was basically an oldish mining town that was still what somewhat going strong, but was slowly falling off the map. We decided to stop off in the town as it has a few more American things we recognize, and as little kids me and my sister don't want to eat the good ass food over there and instead want chicken fingers. In the town we look around for a bit and I spot a Thomas the Train looking thing in the side of a large mountainish hill with kids lined up outside of it. Begged my parents to go, so they decided to split up, my mother taking me and my dad taking my sister. It was called Matilda Ride. It really was something like Matilda's Riders or something, but horribly translated into English. It was a small poorly made version of James, sort of like the picture I posted with this, but was slightly faded red so it looked pink. The train was on the tracks of an old minecart system that was barely big enough to fit the engine and all the cars onto it, often making me get scared that the side of the engine would crash into the walls of the mine. It didn't, however, but it was obvious the kids were all on edge when we entered the ride. The cart was too small for an adult to sit in it, so many of the parents stood on the outside for the engine to get going. It had a voice box in each cart saying things in Spanish, then in English, things like Matilda go through the magical tunnel to find her friends. And beware. Danger is around the corner. But all in a slightly gargled manner because of the voice box's age. The first thing we saw other than the walls of the cave were a few scenes of a magical mine, where there were poorly made minecarts on a small miniature set that aimed to make it look like the cave was far bigger than it was, to little effect. So far it seemed like a poorly put together ride from a shithole area of the country. As we began getting further into the ride, it was turning out be some fun at least. Until we got to a certain point where the room was more than lit up. At that moment I can see the cart behind me, which was the second before the caboose, was noticeably more worn, more freshly worn than old, as many of the other carts were fine aside from a scratch or two. This caboose cart had some stains on it towards the side, but the kid didn't seem to mind at all. They had some of that shit on them too. My first though was that this guy brought fucking pudding onto the train, and as a narc I began saying he had food on the train to the conductor of the ride, that he broke the rules and had food. The conductor jokingly calls to the kid saying if he had some food, and the kid didn't respond. You can see where this is going. The conductor repeats himself 3 times before getting a bit panicked, so stopped the train at the actual next stop, which was 3 seconds away, and checks on the kid in full view of all the other kids. The kid was quickly taken away after a small radio talk in Spanish before the Spanish kids screamed, resulting in some commotion and a couple of other guys coming in and removing the kid and all the usual stuff you'd do in this kind of emergency. The train car was detached and the conductor began again like nothing happened. I know I'm jumping straight into the action here with a thing like this, but that's how fast I remember it happening. Me making a fuss about the kid having food, the conductor realizing that the kid was actually dead, and then moving on after a minute or two of messing around from them. After that incident most of us were full on crying. Some kids vomited from crying so much, and others were having a hard time breathing from all the wheezing they were doing. The conductor of the train quickly tries to calm us down by moving on to the next segment rather than just getting us all out of there ASAP, but once he realizes that it won't work, he just skips the remaining 2 areas and leads us out. The conductor, 2 workers, and a few others usher the mother of the child inside a little office in one of the tunnels. As far off in the distance ambulance sirens are heard. My mom takes me out of there as fast as she can to the area she said she'd meet my father back up at. After about 15 minutes of waiting they return and we leave after my dad gets me chicken tenders, not even trying to joke here, that's literally what he did to calm me down. As we were getting in the car to go back to our hotel, I looked over to see the ambulance bringing the kid in and noticing him cough harshly, so he was still alive. The blood seemed to be coming from his arm, so it's safe to assume he lived from all of this rather than dying right there in the train car. Must have passed out instead and been mistaken as dead. I've tried my fucking hardest to look this shit up so bad, but every mention of Matilda Ride I get is either some random shit about the movie Matilda or a ride from Disney or something. I'm certain it closed down because of it, else it would have been featured on some clickbait article or something by now.
Shared this in the last Greentext thread, but might as well post it here, too. June 2008. Night fishing on Texas coast with my dad. On a pier with a hotel on it. Had night fishing trips there for years at this point. Very calm night, waves low, moon very bright, possibly a full moon but I can't remember clearly. Time rolls around to 2 a.m. Somewhere in the distance, we both hear what sounds like the whistle of a steam locomotive. Dad compares it to the train Astro World used to have. Drones on for 2 to 3 minutes before fading away. Obviously not a normal train since diesels are ubiquitous. Thought it could have come from the oil refineries, except they were too far away to hear anything that clearly from them. Remember that in 1900, the huge hurricane trapped a train and flooded its cars with storm surges, killing everyone inside. Local story is that you can hear the train in the dead of night, but only when another large storm will hit the island soon. Fast forward to September later that year. Hurricane Ike makes landfall and fucks up the coastline. The hotel of that pier was totaled by the storm and was later demolished. Never heard any similar sounding whistles again in future fishing trips. Something interesting to note is that both that 1900 storm and Ike were Category 4 hurricanes, and both made landfall in September within close proximity to each other, Sept. 8th and Sept. 13th. I also tried looking up other accounts of the ghost train, but I got nothing aside from my own foggy memories of summer camp where I was first told about it. I did find articles talking about an actual train that got stuck and was flooded, such as this one here. Link to usni.org on naval history. That island is known for a lot of local hauntings, including its railroad museum. Funny enough, but this is the only real inexplicable experience I had there.
Be my grandma. Have a nice backyard with a garden and an apple tree that has not been doing good for the past year or so. Walking around the backyard. One day finds a few chicken bones around the apple tree. Few days later. Finds a few broken chicken eggs and one still intact. Nobody has chickens in the whole town, so can't be laid by one. Gets worried, says she's heard stories of black magic being done with such stuff. Tell her to chill, prob some niglets throwing thrash around. Fast forward 1 month. Finds a bone wrapped in red cord hanging from the apple tree. Freaks out, says she sees dead people welcoming her in her dreams. According to her, that's a sign of big trouble upon somebody. Says she dreamt the same shortly before Grandpa died. Starts feeling sick on daily basis. Doctor's appointment. MPEG. TFW diagnosed with breast cancer. Fast forward 6 months, still recovering. Winter.png. One day finds a few more eggshells in the backyard. Few days later falls and breaks her arm. Seriously freaks out, decides she will seek some help. Goes to some old gypsy woman in the other end of the country. Known as some sort of a healer/fortune teller. Grandma describes the findings and happenings in the past year. Gypsy pulls out a pen and a paper and draws an exact map of Grandma's house and backyard. Pinpoints the exact fucking location of the tree. Says the tree is fucked because somebody has been watering it with dead water, the water used to clean dead bodies, during night. Says some evildoer is trying to make ill upon her. Tells Grandma to go and dig around the tree, there should be bones and eggshells buried around it, then water the tree with holy water. MFW Grandma actually finds bones and eggshells around the tree. Waters the tree with holy water daily. MFW no further issues from this moment on. This made me think seriously about magic, God and the supernatural. Many things about that I still can't logically explain.
Not my story but a friend's that is always worth sharing in my opinion. Be him in high school. Living in a small country town. Chillin' with 2 buds bored AF one summer afternoon. One of his buds mentions the old drive-in was getting torn down for a strip mall. Suggests they go explore the drive-in before the plot is paved over. Wait till nightfall. Park about a mile or so away since the entry road is blocked off. Spend some time fucking around but find nothing cool since it's an old, empty drive-in. It's backed up against the woods. They decide to climb the fence and explore the woods. Lose track of time and aren't finding much. Finally get to a small clearing and stop dead in their tracks. There's no noise at all, everything is still. No wind. No crickets. No frogs. Nothing. They're dead in their tracks. All three feel like something is watching them. Hear nothing but a twig snap. Sudden gust of wind but it sounds off. Almost like how wind sounds in tunnel but they're outside in the open. Friend turns towards the source of the twig snap. Fucking run. Go go go. They book it back the way they came. Jump the fence like it was nothing. Collapse in the old parking lot. Nature sounds are all back. After catching their breath, Bud asks friend what he saw. Says he can't explain it. Just some big, black mass that was 7 to 8 feet tall. No distinguishable features or eyes but it was breathing heavily. Something in mind told him to run or they would be dead. Few days later Bud says they need to go back to investigate more. No fuck that. So he goes alone. Later says he never found the clearing. Did find other Bud's hat that he lost when they ran so he knew he was in the right area.
Be me. DD214 out of Air Force in 2021. Living with parents, have bedroom across from the front door. Bed is against the wall closest to the bedroom door, and the door is open. Aunt and uncle visiting, they are sleeping in the living room. Can't go to sleep but still trying, hear a knock at the front door. I wonder who it is. PNG. I hear a hello coming from the front door. Sounds like a kid but as if somebody was playing the voice from a tape recorder. Nope. Wave. I'm going to stop Greentexting here and just explain what was happening. This kid keeps saying hello for a good minute and I wonder why my aunt and uncle do not hear anything. Also, it was right around the time we were upgrading our security systems so we did not have any recordings of the front door. My blood ran cold once I realized all the hellos sounded the same, there was no change in pitch or resonance. I used to be a radio dispatcher so I could make out the most incoherent speech from a garbled garbage radio transmission at 2 in the morning. What bothered me was how I just froze, like primal fear seeped through me as if I knew deep down this was not right. I thought, what the hell is going on? Why am I so fucking scared? I have weapons to defend myself and enough training to blast whatever is repeating itself at my front door, at least that's what I thought. After a minute or two it stopped and after 5 minutes, I got out of bed and looked at my phone. It was 11 p.m. and there was no one at the front door. I could tell since I peeked out of my door and no one was standing on the porch casting a shadow on the frosted glass door. I eventually calmed down and went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and asked my parents if my aunt and uncle heard anything while they were sleeping. My parents were confused why they would hear anything and asked what happened last night. I told them that as I was trying to sleep. It sounded as if someone at the door with a tape recorder of a kid saying hello. Continue from tape recorder hello. My parents chalk it up to me hallucinating something, was later diagnosed with PTSD after my friend committed suicide. I can't say that I was in the greatest state of mind, but even in my deepest moments of pain never compared to the cold dread I felt that night hearing this kid repeat itself with no change in sound. The next days nothing happens. We get a ring system. My dad constantly watches it and knows what's happening at the front door, and so far no other things have come to say hello.
I've got one. It's not super spooky or anything, but it's one of only 2 experiences I've had, and more interesting than the second one. Be me, somewhere around 12 years old. Sleeping in my room at the opposite end of the house from my parents, connected by a hallway. House is pretty new, my parents had it built when I was 8-ish, lot was undeveloped before then, no history of anything. Wake up in the middle of the night, no big deal, I'm not really scared of the dark. Not sleep paralysis, because I can move. As I'm shifting around trying to get comfortable and go back to sleep, a formless blackness rises up through the floor. Literally just like a void of darkness floating in the middle of my room. Doesn't speak or move or anything, but just radiates pure hatred. I somehow know that it wants me dead, that it hates every living thing. Still able to move, but so terrified I just freeze and hope nothing happens, can't even bring myself to make a noise. It floats there for a few minutes, just this seething ball of rage in middle of my room. Eventually seems to lose interest and floats sideways out through the far wall of my room. As soon as it's gone I get up the nerve to call out Mom. And then just start crying. Mom comes in, and I can't even articulate what happened or why I'm upset. She gets her rosary and sits next to my bed praying until I finally fall back asleep. Never happened again, never had any other experiences in that house.